Oh, hey, all right. Good morning. Welcome back for, episode 5. I know it sounds like a small number, but I think, Ed, I think for you and I to do something 5 times, it's
It's
moving in some direction.
remarkable. One of us going here, one of us going there, doing this, doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to pin ourselves down consistently is awesome. But yeah, Memorial Day weekend. So we're actually recording this a day later than usual. A lot of activity down in your part of the country. The college rugby sevens championship was down in town.
Yeah.
I know. I know those athletes were. I'm sure some of them were very welcomed by the Gulf Coast humidity.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it did well for him because it was humid. It was warm.
So, yeah, and actually, Memorial Day weekend. So kicking off your Type 5, your 12-week Type 5 program. So got a bunch of athletes that are getting out of the gate with that, and obviously a lot of excitement around the gains that they're going to be making over the next 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's really exciting to get some of the messages back from guys that were really appreciative of having something they didn't think about when they were just kind of doing a program here, a workout here, a workout there. That they heard is they have a structured 12-week program, 4 weeks at each block, what that block entails, how that block, and I explained it to them in emails, and how that block works from one to the other, and then how that final block is more of a ending the off season, moving into preseason, and then into the preseason, so that they're ready, for their preseason work, which would be more running, more rugby specific. But I also make sure that I put in there for you rugby coaches, you can't just be great in a weight room and not work on your skills. Otherwise, you're just going to look really good walking out onto the field. You just be a specimen on a field that gets your ass run over. So, and
Yeah.
I think it was different than some of the guys thought when I put it out, because it is 4 days of lifting in the first block because there's no running. But once running is introduced, it goes down to 3 days of lifting. But the exercises are concise, they work. If you want extra, you can do a little extra, but you shouldn't need it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how you describe it too for block one. Looking at your blog post here, you call it building strength and body armor. And
got to have body armor.
Yeah.
Got to be able to hit somebody and get up. Resilience, be great. You're not going to really do your team much good if you don't have enough muscle on you to protect you, and you make 3 tackles and shit, your shoulder hurts, or this and that hurts. I mean, you got to be able to stay out there for your time, for whatever the time is that the coach needs you. That's what you got. The coach and team needs you. Then that's what the time you have to stay out there. And you got to be good through all of it. You can't put just body fat on, because you got to hump that body fat around. I mean, what you put on, you got to be able to use.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, we talked last week. You tend to take the Type 5, the bigger guys. I tend to take the smaller, the backs, the more skilled players, and I think that's where, not that either of our jobs is easy, but it's fewer of the Type 5 athletes are actually competing in sevens over the summer. So
Right.
A lot of those guys, they can take that first 4 weeks and not run, whereas a lot of the guys that I'm working with are going straight into seven. I mean, sevens tournaments are kicking off this weekend. So some of those guys, some of the backs and sevens players want to get bigger, faster, stronger, but it's a little bit more of a riddle to balance that with their sevens training and the sevens competitions.
Same thing as you can't add a whole bunch of upper body mass to them, because then they'll become top heavy, and you'll change their center of gravity, and you'll change the way that they plant, cut, and change direction. But in that same idea is I use fitness inside of there to keep the heart rate up and everything without pounding on the big guys. So they're lifting 4 days a week, 3 days a week. They're starting out with a circuit that'll guarantee it'll bury you. or even when we start doing the running 1 day a week, there's med ball circuit in there at the beginning of it that's designed to make you more explosive, but it's also designed to work that fitness level, the work capacity, the body's ability to continue to do its work at the level you expect it to do it at. So you can't you get to be 260 pounds, 270 pound prop. You can't expect them to run hard distances all the time. I can get them other places. But it's the same thing for, you get somebody that's you're programming, and you have somebody doing, I have a front rower at 6'2" and I have a lock at 6'7". I can't have the 6'7" guy doing the same amount of work as the same amount of reps and sets as a 6'2" guy, because you look at time under tension and the distance traveled. I'm going to overtrain them, or I'm going to beat them up too much that they're not going to be able to survive or come back and recover. So 6'2" guy doing 5 reps, it's a guy 6'7", that's like 7-8 reps for that guy.
Yeah. And I know a lot of Type 5 athletes that'll actually be pleased to hear about no running.
Yes, as a plus size model myself and throwing, running, yeah, it's just not the most fun thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
Especially after a long season. When you start off season, you just got done with your season. You've run enough for right now. I didn't say get fat and out of shape, sit on a couch and eat a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Or and that's what kind of took me to the Type 5, seeing some of my linemen, like high school linemen, with a coach telling them at the end of the season they got to put on weight and size and just eat. And I had a kid that actually came in the gym, and his mom complained that he made her drive through McDonald's and get him a 50-piece chicken nugget.
Wow.
And he was coming in to train, and my workout buddy partner Darren was in the gym, and Darren looked at the mom. He's like, well, does he drive? No. Does he got a job? He got money? No. Well, then he didn't make you do anything.
Yeah.
I looked at my buddy Max while he was warming up. I'm like, yeah, we're probably going to see those 50 nuggets. Because you got power cleans and squats, and you start out outside throwing the med ball. Well, we saw the 50 nuggets.
Oh, wow.
Not on purpose, but it bounces around your tummy enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned throwing in there a little bit too. A couple of weeks ago made the announcement you're throwing your hat back in the ring. Getting ready for the Masters. How's that training going for you?
The training's going well. It's just like the players sending me messages saying, it was nice to have a program for them. For me, it's nice to have a goal at the end of the tunnel for me to compete at and to focus my training towards, instead of just, I want to be fit, or I want to do this and I want to do that. And just because you're a little older, and now 59, and still trying to win another world championship in the Highland Games. So this is it gives you something to train for. But the training has been going well. I actually really enjoy a lot going out and doing the drills and doing the throws. I haven't picked up a weight to throw yet. I haven't picked up a stone to throw yet, but I have done. It's been 2 weeks since I started back on that path, and I think I've got about almost 300 drills, 300 reps in drills already done. I'll have 600 by the time the end of the month. I do between 500 and 600 just drills themselves each month.
Wow.
So again, you got to work on the skill. Can't just work in the gym. And that's where, people see me at, 275 pounds. I'm sorry, 265, 270 pounds, if Ben Franks is listening. The guy that used to make me get on the scale at the airport to see what I weighed and what kind of food we picked up on the way home after I'd go down to New Zealand to train. And yeah, make me go back up. Oh, come on. Mate, I told you 120 kilos. You're 125, you fat ass. We're gonna have chicken and vegetables. No dessert for you for the first week.
Oh man.
It's harsh, but they see me and they only think that, don't know, that I actually do sprint work.
Yeah.
Well, I look like a turtle running through peanut butter right now, but I'm trying. Actually, I like doing bleacher work and jumps and everything else. And for 275 pounds, it's not unusual for me to, even with 2 blown Achilles and repaired, to jump on a 24-inch, 30-inch box.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't just be big and strong. You got to be able to demonstrate it.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. Well, speaking of being big, strong, and demonstrating it, that was actually, the position that we were going to focus on today is the 8-man, and we were talking just before that, the 8-man is kind of um, he's kind of the gray area, the blur, the blend of all the skills of the type 5 rolled into one. He's got to have the scrum power of the front row. He's got to have the extension, the explosiveness, the jumping of the second row, but he's still got to be, the physical menace in contact, whether it's ball carrying or tackling and poaching of the back row. And so, with that, as a strength coach, there's so many different things that, you have to address and build and develop in that one position, in that one person. So excited to hear kind of your approach to working with 8 men.
Yeah, that's it's a great analogy that you use on that. It is the blend of all that. That's where learning how to do, like, being able to catch a power clean correctly, being able to have the wrist, shoulder, lats, tricep flexibility to catch that, to absorb that force, which is hugely important that people forget about. A lot of coaches will go to high pulls. Oh, we're just producing force. Well, I need you to absorb force as well. That's what you're doing when you're tackling. That's what you're doing when you're coming down from a jump. That's what you're doing when you're when engaged in that scrum. You're not just producing it, you're absorbing it. So with that said, is one of my favorite things is being able to do combination lifts with that, two power pulls, which would be a setup on a clean into a shrug. So 2 power pulls, and then the third rep being a power clean, 3 power cleans, catch, get to 3 presses overhead, and then get five front squats. That way I can get rid of, I can get all those lifts in right there, and I can get some great work in, and then I can go to to something else that's just as important, like a squat jump, and go back to the same thing. Everybody talks about, we're doing this, doing that. Is I'll do them sometimes in season with the trap bar, but I want a bar on the back. I need you to apply force, and I need, when it comes down, I need your spinal erectors and lower back to be able to systematically absorb that force with that compression, so that your body has to get stronger. So that's where you're going to get your explosiveness from, and then med ball throws. I need you to be explosive. By the time you get to a certain age, and that, where everybody knows I love the Olympic lifts. I love snatching. I think it's a great movement. But if you don't have somebody watching you, if you don't understand how to do it, you can really get hurt quickly. So I've already absorbed force on that squat jump. I've already absorbed force on those cleans. I've produced force. So on this one, I want to be more ballistic. So I'm going to do more med ball work. So now the movement's ballistic, and it's a release of energy. So
Yeah.
No,
it's good stuff. Good stuff. And obviously, I'm sure a lot of people are sitting there thinking about, well, how in the heck are you going to do squat jumps in season? And I think that's the kind of key thing for folks to remember, is that there's certain parts of the year, somebody's not doing that throughout the entire season. They're
no,
that's
where your load. That's where your load management comes in. That's where and that's the new buzzword right now, especially with the back 5. But that's where you have to pay attention to how many jumps you're getting, how many times you're hitting the ground, and everything else. But you got to look at it and inside of training as well.
Yeah.
So, if you got somebody and it's Thursday, it's, Thursday before a Saturday game, and you can get a couple of sets in. You're not going to use a huge load. I mean, I see too many guys using too big of a load on it. So, my loads are going to be a little bit lighter, but they're not going to be too light, because then you might as well just drop the bar and just do a box jump. You got to get, and you got to find it. And that's where, you got to use the tendo unit, the push bands and that to find that weight that you need in order to, be the most effective you can. And I don't use anything with like minimal dose or anything like that. I don't want a maximal dose, but I don't want a minimal dose. I want something in between there.
Yeah.
So, and those are your starters. That's your 20. You're 23 now. If you got a backup and he's not playing, well, then he's got some extra work to do, because he can recover from it. He's not going to have the game on Saturday.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you talked about load management, and something that we've talked about as well. I know this question came up a little bit. Some of the inquiries that you were getting with regards to your 12-week program is, well, how do I know what weight to pick and what percentage and this and that, and you've got a great a great approach to that. That it's not about, you don't need necessarily a 1 rep max. Because as you said, we see on social media all the time, some of these athletes are getting their 1 rep maxes, but they're doing it with wraps and a suit and smelling salts and ammonia and everything else. It's like, you're not going to do that on game day or whatnot. But yeah, share a little bit about kind of what is that approach with, what is your approach
to, so I like a more casual max, which would be called a training max. My exposure to weightlifting, and that's where a lot of them get it from, and that is through a Russian system where they test every day for your readiness to train, and then they base that. Can't do that in a sport, you can, and so my tests of readiness to train is when I speak to you when you first come in the gym. Yeah. So I can't do that with the folks that signed up for the thing, but I do send out a weekly email. I give them my cell phone number. They can text me back and forth if they need to make adjustments and all of that. So my analogy is that if you have to get all that, like I did at a powerlifting meet. I was competing for that one day. All my training went for that one day. It didn't go for multiple days. It just went for that day. That's it. So yeah, I could use nose torque. I could have my workout buddy, slap me on the back, that kind of stuff. But if you're doing that, bouncing around and all that, yeah, that's great for once in a while in that, but not for getting that. So I actually take 10% away from your max if I see all the extra stuff. I just want you to be able to walk underneath the bar. It's work. It's all it is just work. Yeah. So, and then too though is you're a rugby player, or you're a thrower, you're a football player, you're a volleyball player, so you're an athlete using this. So, I can't control your coaches running the dog crap out of you. I can't, and I can't step onto the court. Yeah. When I worked for the Spurs, hey, pop, can you back off on Sean Elliott there, or Tim Duncan? They gotta go 80% on the squats today in the gym after training. Yeah, right. I can see how that's going to go for me. So, I have to look at it, and not everybody's keyed up and all of that, but I still want you going to the gym. You can't wait for, I skipped the gym today because I just wasn't feeling it. Okay, you're going to skip a game because you're not feeling it? Get your butt in there and get to work. So you might not have 80%. It might say 80% on your sheet. You might not have 80%. You might have 75%. So I'll take that 75%. As long as it's not something that happens all the time. Because if it happens all the time, then we have to go back and look. And that's why it's so important to keep a journal, or have works, or have it on spreadsheet or anything like that. I prefer a journal, even with a spreadsheet. I prefer you keep a journal. I want you to be able to go back and look and see, what was your eating like? What was your sleeping like? What was your personal life like? None of these people live inside of a bubble. So, what was that personal life like? So I can go back and look at that. Hey, puppy, and it's like, so but if all you got is 75%, then that's all I'm going to get from you. If I ask you for 80% or more, or I beat the heck out of you mentally, asking you for that, you're just going to get beat up. You're just going to start overtraining more. So, and if you get a couple of them, like I said, you get a couple of times coming in, then my next one is to explain to you about how stress works, and show you the different systems on recovery and restoration as well. So if you
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I think that's something that that too many athletes get hung up on. It's that uncertainty of how do I know, and how how do I figure it out? And
I'll give them the same as you do. I mean, I'll give you a range that I would like you to be within.
Yeah.
So like I said, and I explained to them that if you don't hit your range a couple of times, then we got to look at why. And it's the same token too, though, is if you feel like your range is too low for a couple of weeks, you got to find out why. And again, it goes back to the same thing like we had talked before about why I don't really like 1 rep max testing every 12 weeks or something like that, beginning of a program, end of a program. If I did that, then during that 12 weeks, you're getting stronger. You know what I mean? You are getting stronger. So if I programmed 85% and you've gotten quite considerably stronger, so you put 10%, well, now you're that 85% I just assigned you is only really 75%. So what stress is that putting on your body to get you to be better?
Yeah.
So, like we had said, I got that first block has this in it. The second block will always have a month of hard reps, hard testing you. I didn't say I was going to 1 rep max you all the time, but you might do some hard doubles. You might do, a hard set of 5. You might have to give me a hard set of 8. So because strength is important, but repeatability is just as important, if not more, especially in the game of rugby. Yeah, great, you can do that once, but it took you, it's going to take you 3 minutes to recover before you can do it again. I don't need that out on the field.
Yeah.
Scott Hansen, who was Ben and Owen's personal skills coach when I first started training Ben, he told me he wanted 7 seconds of violence followed by a 2-second recovery, and he wanted 5 seconds more violence. That's what he wanted. He wanted 7 seconds. He wanted to shake your breath, and he wanted at least another 5 seconds out of you.
Wow.
So that's and that's important. That's the other part that's really important, is for the coaches to talk to you as a strength coach on what they want from that player.
Yeah. No.
So
well, in talking about the maxes too, I was having this conversation with an athlete the other day. I can't remember the specific statistic, but it's like on any given day, your 1 rep max could vary from, what is it? I thought I read somewhere it was like 5 to 15% or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you hit, you squatted 400 today. Well, you know what? Had we tested yesterday, you might have only hit 375. If we test tomorrow, maybe you hit 410, 415, who knows? And so, like you say, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Right. You can't, you can't do, and I have one of my mentors and guy that I used to go all the way up from San Antonio to UT to work under a couple of days, a week sometimes, was Angel Spazov when he was still alive, and he was a former Bulgarian national team weightlifting coach. And the programs that he would write were very long, and you would go on main movements and you would max out every time you walked in the gym.
Wow.
And then you did your workout. You walked up to a max, and then from that max, that was where your percentages were based for the day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that's just one of those programs, one of those theories that you don't see the dead bodies, the broken, beat up bodies laying on the side of the road. You only see the champions that survived, that somehow survived.
Yeah.
So got to have a little blend of the two. You got to have something, especially in the off season when they have the extra time to recover. You got to have something challenging for them.
Yeah.
Competitive athletes are competitive. They're competitive against themselves. They're competitive against their friends, their teammates, and others. So you got to give them something to be competitive at all year long. Whether whether it's a jump in a sand pit like during COVID when it hit, and I was taking the NOLA Gold guys out to the City Park track, whether it was a jump, a distance of a jump, or even a scoop toss with a med ball. I want to see the guys that want to beat the other one every time.
Yeah.
I don't want to see poor sports. I don't want to see poor sportsmanship. I like a little banter. I like to hear a little trash talk. I like to see guys, work a little harder, puff up a little bit more. One of my favorite things to do is the track still had it's a really nice track. Track and field community here is really big. They still have a pole vault pit up, and the runway. And I had already done it a couple of times, and the head coach Nate came out to see what I was doing with them, and was like, why are they, like I was an idiot, like, what are they doing? All they were doing was, all right, everybody line up. And they were running down the runway and jumping into the pole vault pit. And he was like, what are you doing, mate? Like, you see them having fun? You see them putting everything they can into the 10 jumps that they get. You see what they're doing. Now it's jumping in and doing flips. Now it's jumping in and acting like they're scoring. But every time that they jumped was a maximum effort because they wanted to go further than they went the time before. And they wanted to go further than the person that went before, or higher. Or can I turn? Can I spin? Like jumping off the dive board at the pool.
Yeah.
What kind of trick can I do when I land? So 10 times they gave me maximum effort. Everything that they had, from the very first jump to the very last jump.
Yeah.
And they had fun doing it.
Yeah.
Which is the key, especially in the off season. It's the key. The key is to enjoy yourself. It's not a grind. You want to see a grind? Do what my dad did for 30 years, working at Ford Motor Company, spray painting. That's a grind. Playing sports for money, that ain't no grind.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's often overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
So, but well, good stuff. Well, I think that's a good note to end on, and a belated apologies for the disruption. Freaking my boy Charlie here. Well, no apology. He's looking out for me, so he was just sounding the alarm. But so if he caught into it, maybe he just got jealous of being left out of our conversation. But
you get him a set of headphones.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. You and I'll never get a word in with that. But
no, we can always send. I can bring Marsha. We get some snoring in.
There we go.
Marsha the bulldog.
Good stuff. Well, great conversation. We'll definitely pick up next week with a new position, and definitely
let's get out into let's get out into your position. Let's get out into some backs. Let's go to the 9.
No, we'll do. Good stuff. Well, good luck with the training this week, and look forward to catching up again.